Hey guys, I just want to cover the auction distributions and talk a little bit about the auction direction indicator. This is actually live right now and it's showing intent to go lower, so we'll see what it does here. We have this nice LVN right in that area that I mentioned in the chat near 54.27 area, near 25 as well. If it holds below that, it should, test lower into lower areas. See how the auction is. We have like a nice distribution right here. Less volume above. They tested above that prior high and then they flushed it back down, and most of the volume's down here. And then during RTH, it's, failing to go back up here. So we'll see what it does. Let's see. And I'm short right now, but I won't be short if it can gain acceptance back above the value here. So that would be my cue to get out. I think it's going to flush down though. That's the expectation when we have this kind of distribution. I'm still working on this indicator, but it's basically looking at the, where is it distributing heavily at? And if it is, it'll show up as an imbalance here. And so it's, it's below zero here. It's way below. So it's showing it got, the auction is showing intent to, auction lower and check for buyers lower. It doesn't always work. It can sometimes be kind of like an anti-signal as well, though. When we have like a bearish auction and they keep absorbing and we can't take it out and flush lower, but then they get back above here, then it starts to turn into a bearish, or that bearish signal, that bearish failure signal turns into a bullish, which I've mentioned many times before is, one of the best signs or symbols in trading, signals in trading, is when the market's expected to do one thing and it does another thing. So failure to do what's expected is bullish if it's expected to do something bearish. So let me see if I can get a chart over here. Okay. I'm just going to pull up a chart in a second here. If I can get it going. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we can see that's another point of confluence. It's below VWAP, so as long as it's not super extended, generally we want to favor shorts below. It had a VWAP failure, shortly after London Open, flushed down, and then it, started gaining acceptance between a couple of our major levels. Yeah, so it's starting to play out now according to expectation there. We're starting to flush down. Nobody knows for sure where it's going to go, how far it's going to go, but yeah, when we get a solid imbalance like that, that's why I wanted to get the video rolling to show it play out in real time. When we get one like that, especially early in RTH, that's mainly when I trade, so they tend to play out pretty often. The exception would be kind of what I was saying with the VWAP. If it's a bearish auction, it's already extended, let's say into ADR, and we don't have, unusual volatility like we have had in the market, then it's usually not going to put in much more downside. But we haven't really put in a big move yet in the session. It was a pretty tame overnight session, so. And it was a pretty extended move. Yesterday with the tariff pause news, so doesn't mean we're gonna like retrace the whole move, but we'll generally retrace at least partial. So we do have these prior session highs in here, so we could potentially see, it's stalling out a little in that area. We'll have to see. After flushing lower, it bounced, but it hasn't been long. It could just flush right back down. This is just a 5-minute chart. Actually, make it like that. Put it right here for now. I was hoping for it to flush a little stronger than that. I don't want it to turn into a really long video, but let's see if they sell it back down after this bounce. It's about a 20-ish point bounce. I think I might have lowered. Let me check something here. I must have lowered the refresh rating or something during testing because the bars are moving extremely slow. Let's see what I got going on here. Oh, okay, yeah, that's why. I was recently working on an indicator and I did it to a 1 minute, 60,000 millisecond refresh rate. That's why it's showing like a big move every minute. So let me lower that back down to normal. I usually have it around 200 milliseconds. Okay. This will look normal now. I was really confused as to what was going on. Yeah, so it went back up. It flushed and then it bounced, 20 something points or about 30 points. And now it's flushing back down. Let's see if it can give us more downside here. With this kind of auction distribution, I'll just draw it out. This box here. So, oops. I didn't grab it properly. There we go. So if I drew that from, roughly that LVN to the high and, value area high to the high, and then, so, it's showing intent to, doesn't always do this, but it often will. If it filled out the other side and, made a balanced distribution, it would go down to here. Last time I did a video where I drew a box like that, it ended up finding a low of day at that exact bottom where I drew the box, and it put in a really massive, tremendous bounce. So I kind of doubt that it can do it again. I can't get that lucky. No one knows for sure where it's going to go, but it's even less likely to respect the bottom of that box, though, with the way the market's been trading. One little news drop could send it, flying either way, really, like a really big move. So yeah, it'd be over 100 points lower. Let's see. Yeah, so over 100 points lower. That's where I would like to see it test based on the distribution, but sometimes it'll just flush partially and bounce back up. But this is one of the main things I like to look for to determine, the direction and kind of like the bias for the session. And if it's a balanced distribution where we aren't rejecting higher prices in this case, like we have here, like let's say we have an auction like this without the tail above or a tail below, which would be a bullish auction. If it was just balanced, I wouldn't really have any kind of bias, I would just be looking to fade the extremes if it stalls out and there's absorption down here and fill up here. It's taking a long time here, but it's starting to show intent again. Start to sell down. We'll see if they give it to us this time. Okay, so keeps bouncing right in this spot, so that's a nice little lower time frame pivot area to, if they take that out, it and hold below, that's better than if it just flushed without setting that up. Gives it a little bit more confluence. So yeah, now it's starting to flush. Let's see if they can take it lower here. There we go. See if it can hold below. So it's already 10:15 in a couple minutes, so yeah, so based on the action so far today, we have a bearish lane, but it's not like overwhelming bearish sentiment so far. It would have already filled this out if it was, or it would have gone at least, halfway or so. It's still pretty early in the session, but usually after the 30-minute opening range, we start getting a pretty good idea of what the market's thinking and trying to do. Would have liked to see it flush lower than this, even sooner than this, but I still have to assume we're still in the initial balance. We're not at 10:30. I would still expect them to do this either before initial balance is set or before London close at 11:30, a little more than an hour. If it doesn't do it by then, though, it would probably need some kind of news-driven move to make that happen. See if they reject it here. Seems like buyers are trying to hang on here. Let's see what happens though. Bad thing about looking at it live is you can't fast forward. So it takes forever. Bearish imbalance should be a little bigger now than it was. Let's see. There we go. I lost it for a moment. Yeah, if buyers pull bids, we should see a good flush. Well, yeah, that's bearish to keep on building volume into the lows. So if it keeps doing that, there's a very, very high probability that it's going to flush. We just don't know how much, like I say. Anyone who says they know exactly where the market's going to go is just making things up. Nobody knows for a fact. It's all about probabilities. I do know that if they can't catch a bid here and gain acceptance back up in here, especially above that POC, it's going to flush. The longer that they keep testing into these lows and building volume into the lows, happens all the time. That would be really good if they could reject this right here and close lower here. That's going to lead to some buyers exiting. Could trigger a liquidation. Wish they would just go ahead and flush it already. They're getting there a little bit. Let's see if they can close slightly lower. They slammed it back down right here. That would be really nice. Sometimes with these bearish distributions like this, it will get the bounce. It'll go up and test like the other side of the distribution, VWAP or POC. Those are kind of some main areas that it'll test. And then it'll come back down and flush it. But the ideal thing that we'd like to see is what we're seeing now, where it's pressing into the lows and it's having these little shallow bounces. It's not getting the VWAP test. It's not getting big bounce. Doesn't mean that it won't, but so far it's not. So keep getting these wicks above. That's not everything, but it's something. It's good. It's bearish. We have some wicks below too, but wicks above, closing lower, wicks above. So that's going to be more bearish leaning. If they were all like this side by side, that'd be just balance. So they're attempting to take it. Back up. We'll see. Running these prior bar highs here. I think it was able to get it. Now it did. Got a visible range profile here. Let me get it to show London session. Yeah, so this is London here. So if we looked at it from London session as well, it's a bearish auction without even adding the Asian session. Got that intel above. They pretty much rejected it right away. And during London, test above VWAP, slam it back down. I'm going to wrap the video up if they don't flush it really soon here. I don't want to just be rambling for an hour. It's already been almost a half hour. They might squeeze shorts for a bit. We'll have to wait and see. Even if they squeeze shorts for a bit, I'd expect them to take it back down to a new low and flush this auction. Put in a better low, you know. Quite a bit of volume down here. I'll probably just do this as a two-part video. Yeah, so I'll just be back later to show the aftermath of this auction.